Welcome to the No Rain, No Rainbows podcast. This is a show about pushing through obstacles and hard times in order to live a happy and fulfilled life. I'm your host, Ted Phaeton, and it's a pleasure to have you joining us. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let's grow. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the No Rain, No Rainbows podcast. Glad to have you here today. My man, DeAndre Presley in the building. What's up, brother?
What's good, man?
How
I
you
appreciate
doing?
you for having me on here, my man.
You know, it's an honor to have you on the podcast, man. We've had a couple workouts together.
Yes, sir.
Before you introduce yourself, I want to tell the story of when I went into Metabolic one morning, and I was like, "Man, how's this workout?" And you just looked me in the eye and like, "I'd get your mind right."
Yeah, so, but that's what I be telling them, man. Like, they be like, "What we got today?" I'm just like, man, just come with your mind right. Like,
Yeah.
especially where the intervals are now.
Yeah.
Like,
Just get your mind
just
right.
get your mind right. Just get prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask what it's gonna be.
I'm gonna call it right now. I think that's gonna be the theme of this podcast. Get your mind
Get
right.
your mind right.
For folks that are listening, man, who don't know who you are, who might not have read about you before or anything like that, why not give a quick introduction into who you are, what you do now?
So my name's DeAndre Presley. Went to Appalachian State University. Played quarterback there. Played a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Met my wife at App State. She and I now own Metabolic, downtown Greenville.
Mm-hmm.
We have been owners since November 1st.
Yeah.
And
How's that journey been so far?
It's been good. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun. I get people asking me like, do you feel pressure? Like, I mean, of course there's always pressure,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I was telling you this like a couple days ago that like, it's one of those things like this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So like it comes with it.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't be like, oh my gosh, I wish it were like this.
Yeah.
I take everything that comes with it, take it in stride.
When it's part of what you're doing and it's part of what your goal is, the pressure. I heard someone describe it. He goes, when you have pressure on you for something you don't want to do, they call it stress. When you have pressure on you for something that you really want to do, it's actually just passion.
Mm-hmm.
And the passion's what gets you through it, man. Talk a little bit about your football days at Appalachian State, how that was, what your experience was like and all that.
Man, it was fun. I remember when I was in high school, I graduated high school in 2008.
Yeah.
And I remember watching App State beat Michigan and kind of followed them throughout the season. And then when they got to the semifinals against Richmond,
Yeah.
Armani rushed for like 313 yards. And I remember going back to school the next day, it was like, dog, did y'all see that? Did y'all see that? And then fast forward to the national championship game, watching it, and my cousin was like, yo, if they recruited you, if they offered you, would you go? I was like, absolutely. Kid you not, like, this is just how God works. 2 weeks later, Coach Satterfield, who's now the head coach at Louisville, who just won the ACC Coach of the Year,
Mm-hmm.
he's sitting in our office, head coach's office. And at the time, we had a running back who was like just the guy.
Yeah.
His name was Ty Jones. And I'm like, man, I'm going to take this as my opportunity to introduce myself. So I'm like, yo, DeAndre Presley. It's like just the person we come to see.
Really?
Straight up. And so we talked for a bit. They came to the house, did a little home visit, and I had like all my family there, like everybody.
Calling the cousins.
Man, hey, look, let's get over here.
Yeah.
Like, ask all the questions you want. And by the end of it, it's kind of like, man, I think this is where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
They stayed in town for that week, and I ended up flying with them up to Boone, which was like really freaking cool. So fast forward, my freshman year, I play a lot, start one game. Sophomore year, don't play that much.
Go back to the whole recruiting process. Is like, because like they're doing home visits, and like you just sat there like, if they recruited me, yeah, I'd do it. Did you think at the time you'd be able to? And then when it all started happening, were you in a sense of disbelief, or did you kind of just wear that jacket right away?
Nah, man, it's like when he asked that question, like if they recruited you, would you go? Which is kind of like no brainer, like, but not thinking that it would actually happen.
Yeah.
And so when he's sitting there, I'm like, holy freaking crap! Like, this is I just watched you win a national championship, and he had the championship ring from the previous year. I'm like, dude, how can I get one of those?
Yeah. I
didn't get one.
No, it's okay.
But it's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right.
But you still got another ring. You met your wife at.
I got I met my wife.
Yeah.
I got a couple conference rings.
There you go.
Yeah, a couple conference rings. But at the end of the day, it's like I remember Armani was like, it's cool, but everybody gets one of those.
Yeah.
Like only the best of the best get national championship rings.
Yeah.
And so that was always something I'm like, freaking A, I didn't get that.
Close though.
Yeah, but you know, my wife got a ring. Put it that way.
Yeah.
she got a ring.
Yeah. Talk about, like you said, sophomore year. Didn't play that much. Was that a step back?
No, it was mental. Like it was the reason I didn't play that much. It was just a mental thing, man. I was always in my head. I've always been somebody who I just overthink everything. The simplest things I would overthink it. And I remember we were playing. I started against ECU, and I mean it was right there for us to win. And I just overthinking everything. And we had a guy named Travar Cadet who became one of my good friends who played in the league as well. And he came in at quarterback and just started marching down the field. And at that point, I was just like, your time here is done.
You kind of just saw it transitioning right in front of you.
I saw it happening. Then I moved the receiver. Only came in on run plays.
Oh, man.
It's funny now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But in the heat of it, I was pissed.
I like how you said I was always in my head, because I do that a lot. And I think a lot of our listeners do that too, where they overthink things to a certain extent where they almost become their own detriment. Because a lot of times, I read the book As a Man Thinketh, and it pretty much talks about your thoughts can actually manifest, where they could manifest into real life. So when you start thinking, oh, this person, he's out there, marches down the field, oh, he's going to replace me, and all those things you're worrying about, in fact, take you to the conclusion you're trying to avoid.
Yeah. I think I heard a pastor say it, I think it was Stephen Furtick, I think he called it like self-fulfilling prophecies or something like that. And that's exactly what it was. Like, for me, it was like, dang, I hope you don't get in and do well. And that's exactly what happened. Dang, I hope they don't score. Dang it, that's exactly what happened. But then my junior year, we had a coach who played in the league, Daniel Wilcox, and I'm forever grateful for Coach Wilcox. He came in and actually started teaching me how pros like prepare.
Yeah.
And that was the game changer.
Yeah. How do pros prepare?
Man, it's just the game starts in practice. Like,
yeah.
That's the
Say
game,
that again.
Like, the game starts in practice. And so, like, you will always, everything is, every time you hit the field, that is the game. Every look that you're going to see, I mean, you're not going to, there's no way to prepare for everything.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like, everything you see in the game, you've already seen it all week in practice. So you know what's coming, when it's coming, and now it's just make the play.
Yeah.
And so when he helped me to understand that, man, like, I treated every dang on practice as if it were a game. From the way I threw the ball, the way I ran the football, the way I joked with my teammates.
Yeah.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and my offensive coordinator always helped me put pressure on myself as well, so that when I got in the game, it was just
another day.
It was just another day.
Yeah.
And so my junior year was the best year I've ever had in football. I went on to win SoCon Offensive Player of the Year. I was one of the top 3 finalists for the Walter Payton Award, which is basically the Heisman of the FCS.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I should have won it. My
Fair
stats
enough.
and my highlights were better.
Yeah.
They were better.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just from him helping me to understand practice.
Yeah.
And so when the opportunity for the league came around, it was just like, I've kind of been here.
Yeah. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm already in the mindset.
I'm in the mindset.
Get
yeah.
your mind right. Yeah.
Get your mind right. Get your mind right.
I'm already ready, you know?
Yeah.
I love that, because it's, everybody knows the famous, the viral video, Allen Iverson. We talking about practice? Not a game. Practice. But to kind of apply this to real life, and for the listeners that might be working on their own podcast, working on their own business, whether it be e-commerce or any other venture, right? Practice is where the business starts. Had a guy here today, as you know, we're at Camaraderie Co-work space, and one of the guys who also runs the space, he introduced himself to me, and he's like, man, I got to say, I see you in here every week. I like that. That's consistency. I haven't seen that kind of consistency for a while, where people don't realize it's the practice. It's the drills that you do day in and day out. And when I go on air in the morning, we were talking about prompter reading and stuff. When I was trying to learn how to read the prompter and kind of be smooth on air, a lot of it was repetition. A lot of it was kind of dusting myself off, getting back up, and then after the commercial break, going again. You know, and there's stumbles, there's falls, and when I played football back in the day, I played corner. I didn't have good hands, so I had to play defense. I'm keeping it real. But there were a couple plays, mainly at practice. Honestly, I don't really think it ever happened in a game, maybe twice, where I really got burnt, right? But in practice, whenever I get burnt, you know, safety comes up to me, slap me on the ass. Hey, man, short memory.
It is what it is.
Yeah, short memory. Next play.
Yeah.
You know, you can't dwell on it.
You cannot, because if you do that, man, like it's just gonna spiral. Like my rookie year, I went from playing quarterback at App all 4 years to in the league playing corner. Never played corner a down in my life. I don't know what I'm doing. Like my senior year, I separated my shoulder, and we were struggling as an offense, and I kind of knew they were gonna try to blame it on me. To be honest with you, but I told my really good friend Jamal, I was like, look, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna come in, and they're gonna open the playbook up, and it's gonna look like things are like moving, and it was me, but that's gonna go back. It's gonna quickly go back to the way it was, and that's what happened. And I remember going up to Coach Moore. I was like, hey, Coach, I think by now you know that I'm going to do whatever the team needs. Yeah. But this is my senior year. Like, I will not sit the bench. Yeah. Like, play me wherever you want to play me, but I'm not going to sit the bench. And I remember that week in the weight room, he came up and was like, hey, we need some help at corner. Say no more. Yeah. And, like, dude, they throw me in. I'm starting the next game against Sanford. Really? And they're coaching me as they're calling the play. Oh. And they're like, look, just don't get beat deep. Just don't get beat deep. And it's just like, I can help you with that one. Yeah. Like, nothing get past me, cool. And I'll never forget, dude, my very first tackle as a corner was a forced fumble. Really? Forced fumble. I went on that game to have like 6 tackles, forced fumble, pass breakup. And it was just cool. But it was just one of those things that, like, in the league, like transition to the league, it's like you just got to fall in love with the process, man. And that was something that I learned coming in early. I would get down on myself if I got beat. And I had some really good teammates, Quentin Jammer, Atari Bigby, Antoine Cason. Like they were like just Eric Weddle. Yeah. Like these guys were just amazing in helping me understand, like, have that short memory. Like, you got to forget it. You're going to get beat deep. But I think it was their encouragement to be like, dude, let it go. Yeah. Like, let it go. Like, if you keep dwelling on it, you're going to get beat the next one and the next one and the next one. So
get your mind right.
Just get your mind. Let it go.
Yeah, like, let it go.
And I think that transitions to life, too. Yeah. Because a lot of people make huge mistakes. Like, case in point, me. And, like, we dwell on it, and we're like, gosh, dang, it's the end. Yeah. Like, life is over with. And it's just like, dude, that was just a play, man. Like, that was just a play. Like, you still got a whole life to live. Let that mistake go.
It's like something I read where it said, did you really have a bad day, or did you have a bad 10 minutes that you allowed to spiral into more that rippled into the rest of your day that messed everything up, when you could have just let it go and had a good day?
Dude, I literally just said that to my wife last night. Tell her about that. And just where my mindset is, it's just, you screw up, so what? Yeah. Like, you're learning. Nobody's perfect. Yeah. And the person that's portraying that they're perfect, they're lying. They're lying. Yeah. And I feel like they don't really know who they are. Yeah. They don't know themselves yet.
What's powerful about the mindset with that, Charlie Rocket, I can't think of his full name, but you probably know who I'm talking about. He has this thing on Instagram where he's like, I'm on a winning streak. And it's like every little thing where he catches a green light, ooh, winning streak, you know? But it's just like, because it's so easy when we mess up to go like, oh my gosh. And then what do they say? Bad things happen in threes. So they're like, oh, something bad happened, something else is gonna happen, something else is gonna happen. You're prescribing yourself a bad day before the day even starts. Even if your alarm goes off late or something. Oh man, I'm having a bad day. It's 8 a.m.
Yeah,
the day barely even got started. How's it bad?
You just spoke that over yourself. Yeah.
You know.
Dude, have you ever seen the? It's on Netflix, I think, but it's this. I guess it's a documentary, but it's called The Secret. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
Man, I saw that when I was in college, and that like completely shifted my perspective to realize the law of attraction is like real.
Yeah.
That like we've attracted everything that we have gotten based off the way we were thinking or responding to situations. Dre, you a nip hustle guy.
Nipsey Hustle fan.
Yeah, he like I heard this interview that he was talking about like if you're consistently putting out negative energy, that's what's gonna come to you is negative energy.
That's so powerful. I was doing a story about driving on ice and whatnot, and these professional drivers, they were telling me how to control your car. And he said the natural response for people whenever they're spinning out is they look at the ditch and they say, please don't go in that ditch, don't go in that ditch. But what they don't realize is your body steers to what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And then the car ends up going in the ditch that you're so worried about. What they say is like, keep your eyes on the road when your car's spinning out, and then your body and your movement will steer you towards where you're looking back onto the road. And a lot of people in life, they see that ditch in life. Or even, you know, when you're in the car, and I think we've all done it a little time, you know, your eyes get heavy or something, you swerve a little bit, and you the on the side of the road, and but like sometimes people hit that, and then they go and look at the ditch, like that's coming up next. No, just course correct.
Yeah.
You know, we all have those little bumpers on the sides of our trails. It's gonna let us know when we're kind of veering left or right. Talk about the transition from college to the NFL, because I've heard so many different people talk about the difference in skill level, the difference in competition, and how you go from these great players to the best of the best, and somebody like you transitioning from not just one side of the ball but to the other side of the ball in a completely different position. That has to increase the difficulty some way.
For me, it did. Going from running forward all the time, running forward and trying to beat a defense and knowing where the holes were as a quarterback, to now backpedaling. Like as a quarterback, you know what everybody's doing. I know if I call this play at 15 yards, he's gonna do this. I know where my check down is. I know where my help is. I know all that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas at corner, like you have no freaking clue. Like you are, it's just a guess. And the only thing I have to go off is just how he's running his route.
Yeah.
And like relying on my technique to like get me through this down. Like, and that was so different for me, man. Going into it, not knowing anything, never really backpedaling before, having to learn not just what I was doing, but then being able to actually understand the concept behind what I'm doing. And I think that was the biggest thing. Once I started understanding the concept and not just focusing on like what I got to do, man, it made the transition so much smoother.
Yeah.
Because a lot of rookies come in and they're like, man, this playbook is huge. Like a book full of plays I got to learn.
Yeah.
And then they only focus on like, if I'm a corner, this is what I got to do. So I know in this coverage, this is it. But like, it ends up making it a lot more difficult because like you don't know where your help is coming from. So now you're playing routes that you don't need to play. But once I learned the concept, man, it just made it so much easier.
Yeah. To that point, and I never got past high school football, right? And one of the self-reflections on that, I had athletic ability, but my mind wasn't right at the age. I was too young, and I looked at the game too shallow. So to the same point with our playbook, it wasn't big, but whenever the linebackers are yelling schemes and we're adjusting the defense, I remember I tapped my helmet because I knew what coverage I was in. And I didn't really bother to know what the blitz package was, where the linebackers were going. I didn't bother to know what the D ends were going to be doing. I just was, okay, I know, okay, 200. Okay, I'm covering the flat. All right, I'm going to cover the hook.
Yeah.
You know, okay, I'm going to deep half. I
Right.
knew what I did for each play.
Right.
But to your point is, if I know I'm covering the flat and there's nothing in the flat and the play's going to the opposite side, sure, I need to squeeze in, but I should also be aware of the linebacker. Is he coming around on the left side? Like, if I know what the other 10 players on the field are doing, I can better position myself for where that gap is going to be, which in essence will then put me in the right position to take advantage of a mistake that the other team makes.
Right. That is so true.
It's kind of crazy how I was so one perspective minded in the game of football, when, I mean, as a team sport, you have to be aware of everybody's movement.
Yeah, it's especially like on defense, man. Like I think this is where I learned communication, because like on defense, like we would always say, if you see something, say something. Yeah. Even if that thing isn't happening, if you see something that looks out of the ordinary, do call it. Because as a secondary, it's like we're the last line of defense.
Yeah.
And especially if you're a safety, like you are the last line of defense. So it's like there's no help.
Yeah.
Like if anything get behind you, it's a wrap. And so like it really taught me how to communicate, which is something that it's funny that I learned communication on the football field, but then like I love football so much because all the lessons like transition into real life, and like communication is so important, and like a relationship, and like I didn't really kind of bridge the two until like later, and now I'm like I say to my wife, like, dude, like communicate with me, like if you see something, like if I'm doing something and I don't really recognize that I'm doing that thing, like do say something, like don't just let me continue doing the wrong thing, like let me know what's going on. I cannot read your mind. Like if you don't say something to me, I'm not just gonna be like, oh man, you know, babe, she, you know, Court hasn't, you know, she's looking like she needs a break from the kids and she needs some alone. I'm not just gonna be like, yeah, let me give her some alone time. Like I'm not gonna know that.
Yeah.
But if you come up and say, hey, look, I was really wanting to go do this. This is how I'm feeling. Then I could be like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, you need some time. Let me get the girls and let us go do something. But dude, football really helped me. But back to your point about like understanding point we had first about understanding concepts. Like I also learned that once I knew what the other person was doing and how what he does will affect me. It made the game so much easier too. Because like if we were in what we call a fire zone, which is like a blitz, where like a linebacker's blitzing, and like I know that there's a hole there and there's nobody else to fill that gap, then that's going to help me to be like, okay, this is the weakness of the defense. This is where we can get beat. So let me try to play to that a little bit more. And again, that's something else that is, you know, transitioned into my marriage, to be like, okay, where are we weak? Like, where are we weak? Okay, let's play to that. Because like we don't need to. I've heard it both ways. I've heard some people say just focus on the strengths. Like if there's a weak area, don't spend a lot of time on what's weak. It's a weak area. It's not gonna get any stronger. I get it, but like to me, I'm like, man, if that's where we're weak, then I need you to be strong in that area. Like I need you to be strong in that area, and I think that's what football has helped me with too. Just knowing like if we're weak here, somebody has to be strong in this area. So
kind of helps to cover your flanks, because I mean, when you talk about multiple people working together, a common goal, usually the football team is built around filling the gaps on weakness. Like you mentioned before, in terms of having issues with the offense or whatnot. Obviously, the coaches are going to look at like, okay, so where are we slacking? Is our line the weak point? Is our secondary the weak point? You know, where in this whole scheme of things are we not consistent and are we not whole? And what a good coach is going to do is going to try their best to equal it out, to fill in the gaps, cover the flanks. Talk about the transition out of football and kind of leaving the NFL. What was that picture like? how did you cope through it, and what landed you here in Greenville?
Man, that was probably the hardest transition. I think that's the toughest transition for anybody that has reached a high level of success, or a high level in whatever their field is, to go from that to, like, in the Army or the military, they say to return to civilian life.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Because nobody really understands. Nobody understands you. Like, because everybody, this is what they've been doing. Like, they've been, I don't want to say mediocre because it's not mediocre, but like, this is just what they've been doing. And you've been performing at a high level. You've been training at a high level. So, like, everything is done at a high level. And so when I came out of the league, man, my identity was wrapped so much in football that it was like, that's who I am.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that football wasn't who I, like, that's not who I am. It's what I do, or it's what I did. But it took me a good 3 or 4 years to get to a place where, like, I'm comfortable in who I am. I'm comfortable in, you know, what I've done.
What was that journey like? Was it self-reflection? Was it kind of like trying different things and trying new things?
It was a lot. It was trying different things, like trying this and trying that, and I think that really nagged and bothered my wife a lot, because her family, they own an industrial distributing company, and she's a director of marketing for them. And, like, for her, it's like, she knew, like, this is what I wanted to do. Like, this is it, you know? And so for her, like, that's what her family has done. That's what they will be doing. So it's that one thing. Whereas for me, it was like, okay, I played football, not really ready to go get a real job yet, because I'm still on this high of, like, I can still compete.
Yeah.
I've competed at a high level. So, like, just sitting at a desk job isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And I did that, hated it. I remember when I got cut from Carolina, within 2 months, I was at App State as a director of leadership student athlete leadership and development, excuse me. And was there for 2 months and ended up leaving. Loved the job, but it just really didn't fit the family situation.
Yeah.
Left there. Went to work for my wife's family's company. Didn't like that at all. It was working in a warehouse, just, like, didn't fit me.
Yeah.
And then moved down here, tried to get involved with coaching, wasn't in love with the X's and O's of the game.
Yeah.
Like, I really love teaching the technique of stuff, but the X's and O's, I'm like, first of all, we're trying to teach kids, like, this grand scheme of stuff, and it's like,
break it down, make it simple.
Man, let's keep it simple. Like, we don't have to come out here and do this crazy game plan. Like, most of them aren't going to retain the information anyway. Not knocking any of them, but it's just like, it's just, we're doing way too much.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in love with that. And then got into construction, got into landscaping, got into just different stuff, man. And, like, truthfully got to a point where it's like, I hate working for other people.
Yeah.
I hate it. Like, I don't know. I hate it. I want to be able to create my own schedule.
Yeah.
If I want to spend the day and take my daughters to the trampoline park, I don't want anybody to tell me I can't do that. If I want to not come in today and me and my wife go for a lunch date or something, I don't want to be like, hey, you know, I'm out here doing this and I'm not going to be able to do it. And so, you know, when Metabolic came up, man, it was like, this was the perfect fit for us.
Yeah.
Because I was doing what I love to do. She was doing what she loves to do. Both of us love fitness. Both of us love helping people. And so I was like, man, this is it. It fits, man. This is like, I don't know if you've ever wake surfed before. If you gotta try it. But when you wake surf, the boat's going slow, but there's this point on the as you're surfing, it's called the sweet spot, and that's where you like. It's just a sweet spot. It's the smoothest spot in the water or the wave. And I felt like this is that sweet spot for us. And it's just really cool to be able to control if I want to be able to go spend time with my family and not feel guilty for doing it. And we also got a great, unbelievable crew of people that teammates that help us at MAD. Now they've all been there before, longer than us, but they make it so easy, man. So we're in that sweet spot, but the transition was just difficult, man. Difficult.
Transition always is, but I think getting your mind right through it and pushing through it's always it's the main process that people kind of forget. They get overworked or overwhelmed and they think to themselves, I'm not where I want to be, I'm not at that location, but they forget, kind of like what you mentioned earlier, was, you know, the process, it really is where the story happens. You know, trying the landscaping and the construction, all those things. I tell people they get so wrapped up that I don't know what I want to do. Well, start by trying some stuff and find out what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Because that gets you closer to what you want to do. Oh, would you want to do a desk job? No. How do you know? I did it already. Yeah. Would you want to do construction?
Nope.
No. How do you know? I did it already.
Hated it. Hated it.
But those are the attempts and the tries that lead you and has led you to Metabolic, where Jess and I, after class yesterday, we were leaving, and Jess mentioned, she was like, you know, because obviously we know the previous owners, Nick and Sarah, and Jess was just like, you know, if they sold it to the perfect people to be in there, because we can tell this is what you guys love to do. You love fitness. Yeah, you love working out. You love helping people, and we have fun when we work out with you. It's like
no, dude, that's like what it is, man. Like I remember looking at my wife and I was just like, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I've pretty much tried everything, and I'm at a point in life where I am not spending energy and effort doing stuff that I have no passion for.
Oh, nice.
I'm not.
Nice.
I'm not doing it. I'm not being a dictator on that. I'm not saying it's my way or the highway. Like, I respect what you were saying, but I am at a point where I just feel like it's a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
Again, Nipsey Hussle finds your purpose, or you're wasting air. Like, I feel like that's what it really is. Find your purpose, what God created you to do, who he created you to be, or you are just wasting air. And I feel like there are a lot of people who are just existing.
Yeah.
Kind of waking up, going through the motions, hate their job. Dude, I forget where I read this, but I read this where it was like most heart attacks happen on a Monday.
Yeah.
Around like 9:30 or so, and it's because people hate their job. They're waking up and it's not that they're dying from
the job.
It's just they're not passionate about what they're doing,
and it all kind of comes together.
And they're stressed.
And
they're like trying to, reach certain goals for a job that they don't really like.
Yeah.
And so I just got to a point where I was like, man, I'm not spending time doing things that I don't have a passion for.
Absolutely.
Which led me to, I'm gonna try everything.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna try everything. Like, me and my daughters, we watch Zootopia a lot.
Love that. And
Shakira's song "Try Everything," dude. I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna try everything. I'm not gonna be afraid to fail. I'm not gonna be afraid to screw up, because it's in those failures that you discover more and more of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, and that's another thing that's kind of got me to me being comfortable in my skin and who I am.
Yeah. That
I can comfortably say I have failed. Like, I have failed.
You and me both, man.
Royally failed.
Yeah.
In every aspect of life possible.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to one of my pastors, and he was just like, if that was the biggest hit that the enemy could give you and you're still standing, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, that was his best shot.
Yeah.
So, like, You like just let's just go.
Let's
Get your
go.
mind right. Let's go.
Get your
man.
mind right. Let's go. Before we wrap this up, we're coming up on our time. Really quick, I did want to touch on the music because talking about trying things and growing and you have the passion. You guys training, metabolic, and moving and grooving. But I know we were talking about that music that you've been building and working on. I want to give folks an opportunity to reach out to you in multiple ways and maybe even hear some things that you're working on too there.
Yeah, dude, the music thing, man, it's always been a passion. It started out as just poetry.
Yeah.
And it actually started after my father passed away when I was 14.
Oh, man.
That it was, my mom was like, you want to go to therapy? I was like, well, I don't know what therapy is. Like, I'll write how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And poetry became that way of me being able to express to people how I'm feeling without being judged or somebody being like, oh, you're wrong. You can't feel that way. You can't think that.
Yeah.
And so that's what it started as. And then from there to just singing, writing songs or lyrics to getting in college and my friend Trey picking up his guitar, started playing chords, and words just started pouring out.
Yeah.
And we wrote our first song my junior year in college, and it was titled My Destiny. And from there on, man, like it's just been this build up, and my wife and I kind of bicker about that a little bit because she's like, you can't do mad and be doing this, and I'm like, they all go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like they go in together.
You don't get the big picture, baby.
You don't get the big picture. But music, man, it's just that it's everything.
Yeah.
And so I've started pursuing it as more of a songwriter. I want to be a songwriter. And so I have like 2 songs out right now. One's called Hard Placing You. It's more of a country song. And then I wrote a song with my friend Ashley Stidfo. It's called Deep End, more of a Christian song. And then I got a few projects coming out.
All right.
One that I've been kind of, I guess, promoting, if you will. It's called Chosen One, like my project on my own with me and my buddy Ryan, or R. Dot on the beat.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I would love for everyone to follow me on Instagram at DeAndre_10, DeAndre Presley _10.
Yeah.
And just check out some of my music. Hard Placing You's out.
Yeah.
Go look at it. If any of you know country stars that are looking for songs, tell them get at me.
Yeah.
Because I got a whole booklet of songs ready for somebody to record.
I love it, man. And I'll have all that linked into the show notes and all that. And DeAndre, dude, thanks for being on the show. Something tells me you might have to come back sometime soon.
Man, anytime, dude.
Yeah, as we continue to grow and go through different seasons of life, I think we'll have different levels of knowledge to share. But yeah, get your mind right. That was kind of the theme of today, and love that you shared your story. Some of the notes I wrote down was don't always be in your head. A lot of times if we're in our head, it holds us back from really kind of just doing what it is we want to do. You can't be afraid of the ditch on the side of the road. Keep your eye on the road. And the game starts in practice, man. I really hope people take that to heart, because that's something you guys have to go rewind, play it back a couple times. That's where it all starts, in the practice. And then fall in love with the process. And I love when you were talking about your identity kind of after leaving football. You know, that's not who you were. It was what you did. And trying new things along the way, and try everything.
Yeah, man.
Find what your purpose is, man.
Yeah, that's the only way you're going to discover it.
Yeah.
Is to try stuff. Like you said, find out what I don't like, because what I know what I don't like, which is going to lead me to ultimately what I do like.
That's what I say. Try new things. You never know. You might just stumble on what you love. Yeah.
And when you do find it, man, hold it tight.
Yeah.
Don't let go. And I guess what I remember, and this is the last thing I'll say, is in The Pursuit of Happiness, man, Will Smith said something. It's like, if you got a dream, you protect it. Don't let nobody tell you what you can't do or who you can't be.
Yeah.
And I've held on to that. That there are a lot of people who got these big dreams, and they're telling the wrong people.
Yeah.
They're telling people who are just killing their dreams, because these people project their fears onto you, and now you're taking somebody else's fears and making them your own.
Yeah.
And it's like you're getting killed before you even get started, my man.
Yeah.
And so I'd say to hell with what everybody else got to say.
Yeah.
Like, if this is what I want to do, I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I fail, I'm going to get back, and I'm going to try to get back up, try it again.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, we'll hate ourselves for not trying than trying and not being able to do it.
You will.
Yeah. Well, DeAndre, man, thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man.
Hey, anytime, we're going to have you back. And the listeners that made it with us and rocked with us all the way to the end, thank you. Hopefully you got a lot of value from this episode. Don't forget, we have our Patreon account out. Definitely want to show us some love on there. That's linked also. You can support the podcast and help us out month in and month out. But like we always say at the end of the episode, everybody wants the sunshine, but they don't want the rain. But you can't get the pleasure without a little pain. Let's go. The No Rain, No Rainbows podcast is recorded at Camaraderie, a collective workspace in Greenville, South Carolina, right off the Swamp Rabbit Trail. If you're looking for a place to grow your business, network with other professionals, and establish your own workspace, Camaraderie is the place to do so.